In the heart of Kansas City, where the bustling urban landscape meets the secrets of the unseen, we find ourselves entangled in a web of intrigue surrounding an unsolved murder at a local Pizza Hut. Join me as we venture into the very fabric of this vibrant city, peeling back the layers of this perplexing crime that unfolded merely 1 hour after a young man's arrival. This is the story of Brett Kreglo. 1985 marked a pivotal moment in Kansas City's history, with ongoing efforts to rejuvenate downtown areas and foster a sense of community. The city, nestled on the border of Missouri and Kansas, bore witness to a confluence of cultural, economic, and social dynamics. However, like many urban centers across the United States during that time, Kansas City saw a mix of both progress and challenges, as the city worked towards revitalization while grappling with issues of crime and economic disparities. On December 4, 1985, 22-year-old Brett Allen Kreglo, along with his lifelong friend David Scott, had just arrived in town from Boulder, Colorado. A recent graduate of Graceland College in Iowa, Brett had come to Kansas City to visit his sister and look for permanent employment as a bank auditor. His sister Terry had moved to Kansas City 3 years earlier and had some job connections. Born in Nebraska in 1963, Brett had moved with his family to Colorado in 1970. He loved skiing and played rugby and volleyball for Graceland College. Brett had found temporary work in Boulder after graduation. However, with the high unemployment rate, good job prospects were slim. He was hoping to change his luck in Kansas City. Having left Boulder early that morning, by the time Brett and David arrived at Terry's townhouse at 9:30 p.m., they were starving. Terry, who was still working her nursing shift at Children's Mercy Hospital, gave her brother directions to the nearest Pizza Hut, which was about a mile away. At 9:55 p.m., Brett called in an order for a medium sausage pizza. Not knowing how long it would take to get to the restaurant, Brett and David left the townhouse about 10:10 p.m., arriving to the Pizza Hut at 7510 East 87th Street about 6 minutes later. At about 10:20 p.m., as they sat in Brett's Datsun 260Z finishing off a couple of Coors Light, David saw two men come from behind the building and enter the Pizza Hut through the front door. He thought nothing of it. Neither Brett nor David were aware that an armed robbery was beginning to take place inside the restaurant. Police were dispatched to the scene at 10:49 p.m. and found Brett lying on the floor of Pizza Hut's entry foyer, located just inside the east side of the business. He had been shot once, with a bullet severing an artery in his upper left chest. He died instantly. Based largely on eyewitness accounts of David, police pieced together the tragic event. Once inside, the two assailants forced the cashier to hand over the contents of the cash register before ordering the employees into a walk-in freezer and forcing the manager to hand over the contents of the safe, totaling about $2,000. During the robbery, two customers were sitting in the dining area. When Brett and David walked in about 10 minutes later, they noticed the two customers and two men pacing behind the manager who was at the cash register. At first, thinking the two men were friends of the manager, both David and Brett noticed an eerie tension. Neither the customers nor the men behind the counter spoke. Brett stepped into the men's room while David paid for the pizza. He handed the manager a $20 bill and noticed there were no bills in the register, just change. When the manager said he could not change the $20 bill and asked if he had anything smaller, David handed over two $5 bills. He became alarmed when the manager didn't return the $20 bill, instead leaving it and the two $5 bills resting on the cash register, and he immediately realized something was wrong. When Brett returned from the men's room, David told him they needed to get going. It was at this point that the shorter of the two assailants grabbed the money off the register and headed to the door. The assailant waved a large caliber handgun toward the men's room, and David started to move. Brett, perhaps thinking he could defuse the situation, verbally objected and was immediately shot. David was forced into the men's room and robbed of $100 in his wallet. The assailants then took $600 to $700 from Brett's lifeless body, robbed the two customers, and took the wallets out of the purses of several employees. Miraculously, no one else was injured. The assailants were described as black males, one about 5 feet 8, weighing between 130 and 140 pounds, wearing a brown jumpsuit. The other, approximately 6 feet tall, wearing an off-white coat and weighing between 140 and 150 pounds. Neither wore a mask. Police believed this robbery was connected to the robbery of the Gates & Sons barbecue restaurant in Leawood, Missouri, a month earlier, where a 10-year-old boy was terrorized. The restaurants are about 6 miles apart and near interchanges for I-435. One day after the murder, brothers Michael and Maurice Riggs, ages 29 and 24 respectively, were arrested for robbing the Pester gas station at 2839 East 9th Street. Police suspected the brothers as being responsible for 8 robberies across Kansas City, including the Pizza Hut. Police did not identify which of the brothers they suspected shot Brett. Unfortunately, even though the Riggs brothers were held and questioned in Brett's murder, they were never charged. As of the recording of this video, no one has been charged with Brett's murder. The Pizza Hut is long gone, replaced by a wine and liquor store. Brett's body was returned to Colorado for burial in the Mountain View Memorial Park Cemetery. A $25,000 reward has been offered for information. If you have any information that can help solve the murder of Brett Allen Kreglo, please call the Kansas City Cold Case Squad at 816-234-5136. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.